Hello everyone, this is Alireza. In this episode, we will add our toolbox, and as you can see, like any other window, it will sit beside others and can be docked. And this is the minimum size, okay? You can't minimize it less than this. This is the minimum size. But of course, you can make it bigger if you want to. So let's start adding our toolbox. Before that, we need some custom styles. So let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one more. Yeah, 7 buttons we have. Okay, so make it 12. Thank you. Okay, status view, the next one, this guy. We will call them. The first one is new graph button. Then we have load graph button. Then what should I name this one? Unload graph button. No, clear graph button. Delete graph button. Then we will have a float node button, and add node button. Okay, starting from our new graph button, it will have a normal, and that is new graph dark. Okay, and it will have a hover state, so new graph dark over. The border will be 111. The rest is not important. The load button will be load and the hover state for load. Then unload. I hope I did name it unload. Yeah. And the hover is unload. Clear. We have clear and clear over. Delete is delete, and the hover, I call them over. Okay. Float, the hover, and finally the add button. The add and the hover for it. And I think the borders are set. Yeah. Okay. So let's get busy with the code. Close all documents, and tools view is the one we want. Now we need this part. So, and that's why. I know. Okay. We don't need it for these guys. We just need it for work view. So tools. When we are going to update the GUI, and let me keep my notes up. Okay, before we go for the current graph, I need another style. I noticed it right now, and that's a separator. So we will add one more, 13, and that is our separator. Now for the separator, I used this guy and the view normal dark. Okay. Now, you see this, as I said, I will come back to that error. You will see this until the very last episodes, that error about, I don't know, layout stuff. So, my notes. We start with GUI layout.box, no text, and we say view skin dot get a style, and the style we want is the separator. And we say GUI layout dot height is our view rect dot height, and GUI layout dot width is 2 pixels. After that, we start our buttons. So if GUI layout dot button, for the button we will go with no text. Come on. We will use this style, and let me put it, yeah, that was the correct spot. Okay. GUI, no, not that, view skin dot get a style. The style we want is new graph button. We will go with GUI layout dot width of view rect dot height, and GUI layout dot height as view rect dot height. So what did I miss? A parenthesis here. So we will have one extra. Okay. That, if I save it, if I come back inside Unity, you should see a button here show up anytime soon, hopefully. Come on. Huh. Why it's not showing up? Oh, dumb. We want, before the separator, because remember areas are vertical, so we say GUI layout dot begin horizontal, and this is where we end that horizontal, so GUI layout dot end horizontal. That was the reason we were not seeing it. Now it will show up. As you see, this is the button. Okay. Yeah, this argument exception, we will take a look at that in more episodes to come. And you may not notice it, but that separator there is a bit 2 pixels denting inside. Okay, that's just for aesthetic purpose. So I will select this because we will have more buttons. This button will be, no, not this guy, sorry, this part. This button will be not new, but load graph, and after that we will have a separator. There, okay? Save, come back, and the second button will show up. And this is our separator, you see, okay? Now, I'm not sure why the separator, oh yeah, because I have something in hover state. So the hover state for separator should be none, so that when I move my mouse on separator, it won't highlight itself like a button. Okay. Now, let me check. This is new. This is load. We move this check inside this after the separator. So now if we have any graph being loaded, we want to add more buttons. So the first button we want is unload graph button. The second button we want is clear graph button. After that, we want a delete graph button. After that, we want the float node. Float node button. And finally, the add node button. Of course, you won't see these because we don't have any graph, so it won't change anything for time being, as you see. Okay, but no more errors other than this getting control one position. So now we want a utility, and our utility is gone. Okay, include in project. So here we will add a class called node utilities. Node utilities. Oh, come on. Not assets, RPG. So node utilities is a static class, and we will have some static methods. So public static void create a node graph. It will accept a string as graph name. Here we will say if, no, before the if, I forgot a line. We say node graph current graph equals to scriptable object dot create instance of type node graph. After that, we say if current graph does not equal to null. So if we got the graph, we say current graph dot name that we don't have yet, graph name equals to the graph name that we sent in. Current graph dot initialize, so a method that we need to add inside our graph node. Then we say asset database. Where is it? Asset database, yeah. Dot create asset. The asset we want is current graph. The path is assets / node editor / resources / database plus the graph name plus dot asset. Okay, and the path, get ready for errors, is assets node editor resources database here. Okay, after that, of course, we want asset database dot save assets and asset database dot refresh. Now we want to assign this graph to our node editor window. So we say node editor window, and we say current window equals to editor window dot get window of type node editor window. Okay. Then we say if current window does not equal to null, we want to say current window dot current graph equals to our generated current graph. As you see, as a database, node editor window, so you can right off the bat say it's Unity editor stuff. And if. When you have something like that, you want to put it on top too. So if Unity editor and if. Okay. Let's see node graph. Let's do this guy first, because without it we won't go anywhere forward anymore. So node graph is a scriptable object. We have public string graph name equals to new graph. Then we say public list inside system collection generics. Of course, we don't have it node base, and we call it nodes. Then we will have public node base that we don't have yet. We call it selected node. Then we have a public boolean. We call it once connection, and it will be a flag that we will use when we are connecting two input and outputs together. So we have public node base connection node, that is the node we are connecting, and finally public bool show properties. Okay. Now we will have private, not protected, private void on enable. So when we are enabling this guy, we say if nodes equal to null, we say nodes equal to new dat, and then public void initialize, the method that we didn't have. In initialize, we say if nodes dot any from link. Then we say for each node inside our nodes, we want to say node dot initialize. So we initialize our nodes. After that, we will have public void update graph, and it asks for an event e. We will say if nodes.any. We will go inside a loop again for each inside our nodes. Node. We will call node.update node and send in the event if it needs it. After that, we will have Unity editor stuff. Here we say public void update graph GUI, it asks for an event E and rect that we call view rect. Then we will have private void process events, and the process events asks for an event E and a rect that is our view rect. So right now we can say that oh wait, okay, where am I reading the process events here? Yeah, here. So we say if here in the update graph GUI, we say if nodes.any, we call different things. First, process events we send in the E and view rect, and then we say for each inside nodes node, we will call the node.update node GUI, and we send in the E and view rect. So these will have more stuff later, but one thing we want is a public void delete node, and it asks for node base, that will be a class that we will add node, and it will process stuff, and it doesn't need to be inside the Unity editor. What did I do? I forgot this guy. It can sit outside. Then we will say another one of these is private void draw connection to mouse, and here we will ask a vector to, and that is the position. So any more? Yeah, one more method, and it's again a private void deselect all nodes. We will come to these guys later, but as you see, we need the node base, so I will add it here, node base. Cool. Now node base is again a scriptable object. It will have public string name. It's the class that every node will inherit from. So whatever we think the nodes may have, we have to add it here. So public rect node rect public node graph, we call it parent graph, public node type that we don't have, it's an enum. Come on, no, node type, and it calls node type. Then we will have public bool is selected equals to false. It will be a flag that will be true when we select a node inside the graph. Then public node output. Why did I make it? Oh yeah, okay. Active output, public node input, active input. Then we will have public list inside collection generics of node output, and we call it outputs equals to, we instantiate it here, new node outputs. Then public list of node inputs, we call it inputs, node input, we call it inputs equals to new list of node inputs. Then we have a protected GUI skin, we call it node skin. Then we have a private rect, and that is view rect. After that, we have public virtual, so that we can override it, void initialize. Inside initialize, we say get editor skin. Then we hide the flags equals to hide in hierarchy. Then we have public virtual void update node that asks for event if we need to. Then we have our editor stuff. So if Unity editor and if, here we say public virtual void update node GUI. This one asks for event and the rect, so view rect. Yeah, small view rect. And do we have any more editor stuff? No. So public virtual void process events, and of course it asks for event e and rect view rect. Then we want our protected void. I could make it private. Get editor skins skin. I think I will make it private. Private void handle connection. That will be a method that we will call when we are starting to handle a connection, and it asks for a node output. It will be output. Then private void finalize connection, and it will accept a node input. We call it input node, not node, input. And the last one that is editor stuff is private void draw connections. There we go. One more, and that is public virtual void draw node properties. Another one, public virtual void draw node help. And the last one, public virtual void draw node status if we want. Okay. That's the stop, and of course we will have some errors again. Node type, node output, node input. Well, node type is an enum, so a class called enums. It is not a class, thank you. Enums will have that public enum node type, and it's responsible of every node that we have. So for this first iteration of video series, I would just have a float and an add node. The first one is gone. Node output and node input. Node output, and I forgot the node base is serializable. Serializable. Node output is again serializable. And let me double check my node graph because it should be serializable. Okay. So node output, it has a public bool is occupied. It means that if the node output has connection to other nodes, then a public node base child node. But for a parent node, no, it doesn't have a parent node, sorry. Public int connected input ID, and we call instantiated -1, then public vector2 and its position. Node input, however, is of course serializable. We'll have a public bool is occupied. Then we will have a public node base that is our parent node. This was the place I was looking for, the parent node. Public node output connected output. And finally public void, vector2 position. Now you may notice that for the tracking the output, I'm using the node output, but for tracking the input, I'm using an int. If I use node input and then I would say connected input, it would fall into infinite loop for, this input would have a serialized output, that output would have serialized input, then a nested case, and Unity serializable, or actually any serializable, would yell at you that, hey, I can't serialize this guy after 7 iterations inside this loop. So for that, I had to use this ID here because it's easier to track it this way, and I'm using the connected output more than a few places. So I decided that, this is enough if I put inside the output node. So do we have any errors anywhere? No, no, and no. Cool. Now, where should I call this create node graph? Of course, we had done all of that so that we can start stopping our new graph button. So get ready for yet another window class. We call it node popup window. And as the name suggests, node popup window is yet another editor window. And it has a private static node popup window, and we call it instance, and a private string called name equals to enter a name 3 dots. Then we have public static void init. Here we say instance equals to get window of type node popup window. Instance dot title content equals to new GUI content, and the name is graph name. Instance dot max size equals to new vector2 of 300 by 80. Instance dot min size equals to instance dot max size. Okay. After that, we will have the onGUI method, and in onGUI we say GUI layout dot space 20. Then GUI layout dot begin horizontal, GUI layout dot end horizontal. Inside the horizontal, we will say GUI layout dot space again 20, and editor GUI layout dot label field new graph, comma, editor style dot bold label, and GUI layout dot width of 80. After that, we say name equals to editor GUI layout dot text field name, and finally GUI layout dot space of 20. After the horizontal, we will see GUI layout dot space of 6 pixels, then GUI layout dot begin horizontal, GUI layout dot end horizontal. Inside this horizontal, we will say GUI layout dot space of 20, and of course we will have another one between these two. We will say if GUI layout dot button create. We will have stuff to do, and we say GUI layout dot space 10 pixels and another button. If GUI layout dot button, this one is cancel. For the cancel, we only say instance dot close. And after the horizontal, at the end of every horizontal, at the end of everything, we will add another space of 20 and we call repaint. Okay, now in this create button, you say if not string dot is null or empty the name, and name does not equal to the name that we gave in this guy. Do stuff, else do other stuff. If it's null or empty, or the name is the same name that we gave in, so we say editor GUI, editor utility. Where are you? Editor utility dot display dialog. The dialog is error, and we say enter a valid name for the graph, and we only have a button for OK. If the name was valid, we say node utilities dot create node graph with the name we set in, and we say instance dot close. Okay, now we go back to our toolbar and we call that node popup window dot init. If everything goes okay, I should be able to hit this guy, get a pop-up, and I will call it test, and create. And because now we have graph, we should see the nodes. And no errors, and node button. Okay, what did I name it this time? Add node. Add node. Thank you. And inside editor, now we should see this guy, and it's stopped, clear. Add node button. I have it now. Add node button. Okay. Close tab. Reinitialize it. And now we don't have that, but inside here. Oh, look at here. Where did my database go? Huh. Okay. Test. Create. It's still not seeing that add node button. GUI style. And I don't get my node. Huh. Okay. One by one. GUI skin, dark skin. Add node button. And it's still saying that it didn't find it. Okay, I know I need to relaunch the Unity for that, but hey, why I'm not getting my asset? Node utilities. Create the asset, assets, node editor. Is that properly named? Node editor. Oh, there we go. That's why. I forgot a forward slash. So it is somewhere. God help me. There we go. Asset database test. Okay. So it was adding it there. So RPG node editor. Come on. RPG node editor launch. So database. And by the way, if I create it now, it yell at me. If I delete it, create, it yells at me. Okay. So test and create. Now we have our asset there. And now it finds the add node. Cool. Okay. Now, node pop-up window name hides something. Okay. We can simply refactor it. We call it a graph name. And yeah. Do we have any errors now or any warnings? No, only this exception because of how Unity behaves on drawing these guys. Okay. So we have our add new button working. In next episode we will do these few because those are easy, those are fast. Then we will dive into the node editor behaviors and whatnot. But I want to do something in my dark work view normal. What is your 39? Make it 40 or even 50. That's nice. Close. Tools view 50. Maybe even more. 75. Cool. For properties, again 50 is a good one. Help view normal 50. Close. Status normal and 50, or maybe like top one 75. Cool. Now they are more readable. Okay, so in next episode we will work on load graph, clear graph, unload graph, sorry, clear graph, and delete graph. Something that I would like to see is if I can get a tooltip on these guys, but unfortunately there is nothing here that says tooltip, something like that. Nope. And the tooltip is a GUI content, so we will take a look at that GUI content later when we are done everything, because that's only cosmetic. Have fun everyone. Bye bye.